Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Flower School Live. I love this day. Makes me so happy. I've already started the coffee, so I've got a little bit more here, but I couldn't wait for you, so I had a little more there than I thought I did, but I just needed to be a bit more caffeinated before you got here. It's a beautiful day in Portland. It's sunny, it's warm, but it's not hot. It's just perfect. The way I like it, so that I can enjoy being out watching the sunshine, but it's not so hot that you just go crazy. You get to have a lot of fun. So, welcome to Flower School Live. Today we're talking about preparation for the PFDE. Now, some of you already know what that is, PFDE. For those that it's new, it's the Professional Floral Design Evaluation. So it's a hands-on, in-person testing of your floral skills, your mechanics, your techniques, and your creativity. It really takes into account all of that. It is probably, in my opinion, the hardest test that we as professional floral designers have to take. Granted, every single day that you're designing for a customer is a test all its own, but when you're having to design with a surprise package, with a time-restricted element, in front of proctors, making sure you're doing it correctly, it's kind of intimidating, kind of scary. So today we want to go through and talk about how do you prepare for that? What does it all mean and how does it work? If you're on your phone, remember you can get a bigger picture sideways. If the comments are in the way, swipe and it goes into silent mode so that you can just see the picture. Makes it easy. If you are watching us at work where you can't be truly watching, so you're listening and you've got your phone down, periodically I'll say, what do you think? And that's when you know you got to pick it up and look so that you can see. If you're watching us on replay later, you can fast forward, rewind, do whatever. So welcome. If you are joining us from, I don't know where, let us know where. Type in there. Let us know where you are, what you're doing. If you're part of the Tulip Tribe, add your tulip icon. We've got the team with us today in the studio. We've got Teacher Carolyn, Teacher Marisa, and we have Parker on tech. So we've got the full house. Virtually, we have Teacher Michelle, we have David, we have Susie, and we have Caledonia. And we have you. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to get to chat with you about the PFDE preparation. So let's start by talking about flowers. People always ask, what will I have to work with? What will they give me? What is in my surprise package? And I always remind everyone, when we have students come in for the designing for competition, they're like, oh, what's going to be there? And I stop, I say, just a minute. You're going to have so many flowers that it's absolutely impossible for you to use everything that you're given. You can choose and say, ooh, I don't like this, I don't like that, because you'll have a ton of flowers and foliages. I promise. I promise. There is so much that you can choose. There will be a color palette. So maybe they would go with a palette of the fire hues. Or maybe it's a triad with purple, green, and orange. Maybe it's monochromatic, all white, with a touch of green, a classic palette. Maybe it's more into the purples. But whatever it is, you will have a palette that works together. So that makes it easy. Then, as you're looking at your flowers, you want to think about what you have. What did they give you? And if, for example, you absolutely hate designing with white, as long as it's not a whole white color palette. If it's a whole white color palette, you're stuck. That's the way it goes. But if they've given you a fire palette, but they included white, and you don't like it, don't use it. Make it go away. You don't have to use everything they give you. So if you don't want to use white, don't. If you hate something, don't use it. Just choose the things you like. Then If you're wondering, well, what are they going to give me? What are they going to give me? If it is one of the most in-demand colors that everybody wants, like this fabulous toffee rose, they probably aren't going to give it to you. Because think about it. It could be a huge wedding weekend. And if they have 100 people testing and they need 100 bunches of toffee roses, do you think the grower's going to want to do that? Maybe not. So you know what? Oh, I'm throwing things on the floor. So those are going to go by. Because you know what? Chances are you're not going to get those. Not happening. What if it is a flower that you go, oh my gosh, I've never seen Phalaenopsis in that gorgeous minty green. Those are so beautiful. Not going to get them. Again, think about flowers as a commodity. If it's so unique that you think, oh, I've never seen that, chances are you're not going to get it. So those are going to go away now too. So then we're back to things that are a little more available. A cymbidium or a miniature cymbidium, yeah, they're abundant. You might get those. They're available in this mocha hue. They're available in green, white, pink, so many colors. They're available just about year-round. Chances are you might get something like that. No guarantees. I can't say, oh, gee, you're going to get. I don't know what you're going to get. It's a surprise package. But that's a maybe. What about an anthurium? You might get them. They're abundant. They're available. So yes, that might happen. Now, what if you get something and you open your bucket and it looks like that? What do you do? What if you get that? What if you open your bucket and you get that? What about that? So what if you get something that is less than optimal? To take from my mother, tough Cocoa Puffs. That's it. Too bad. I'm sorry. I don't care. That's the way it'll be. So if you get something like that that's ugly, throw it away. If you get something like this that's ugly, think about it. Is there some way to still use it? Could you detach and end up with something usable? Almost, we've got a flaw here. Can I conceal that? I might save that. That's a maybe. This one? Again, just kind of go through. Like, okay, well, can I salvage it? Ooh, that's kind of pretty. Okay, I'll save that. I don't know if I'll use it or not, but that's amazing. Ooh, look at that. Oh, well, guess what? I can't use that part, so may as well just get rid of it. I might use that. Okay. What about these guys? Well, if you really wanted that head, you could think about wiring it. Keyword being think, because is it worth the effort? Oh my gosh, I mean, think about it. If you're having to sit and wire, you've got to get it to go down in, stay inside, not come out, because no one can see that you wired it. It has to, oops, I broke it. Nope, you can see the wire. Not going to work. How much time do you have? Not enough. Again, you see something like that? Put it in the garbage. If you don't think it's good enough to use, don't use it. And don't complain. Nobody's going to care. Remember, and you can just chant this when you're at the test. Chant it. Tough Cocoa Puffs, because no one cares. I know that sounds cold and callous, but it's true. But it's okay because you have so much stuff that you can just get rid of it, throw it away, and not worry about it. You can just say, it doesn't matter. But cool, I'm going to save this because I might use it. You give yourself liberty. If you see something so cool, and look at this. White Baronia. Oh, another dead solid aster. That's garbage. This really cool white Baronia. Oh, it's fragrant. It's beautiful. It's the coolest thing ever. You're not going to get it. Don't even think about it. Not happening. Okay? That's not abundant. And it's probably not in season during the time that would be happening. So, cold, harsh reality. Think about your flowers like a commodity. Think about how it gets used, and is it available, and will there be enough for 100 people to have that? And that will help you plan your materials because you can sort of guess what might be available, what they might be providing you, simply through the power of deduction and your divine wisdom. You're a smart person. You can get it figured out. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a design. What's going on out there? Caroline, Parker, Marisa, what's happening?
Well, we've got quite the crowd here on YouTube. We have Rose, Janet, Vicky, Blue Green Fields, Tomasi, who said he's coming to visit us next week.
Oh, grand. Look forward to seeing you, Tomasi. Wonderful.
Richard, Elaine, Dorn from South Wales, Rose again. Ginger, and she says she's sitting by her blooming lilac tree sipping wine.
Oh, I'm so jealous, Ginger. I want to be by your lilac tree. Oh my gosh.
Then we have Rachel, Natalie, Paula, Roxanne, and Brenda.
Welcome.
And Leanne, over here in Facebook land, we have John, Beatrice, Denise, Gerald, Christy, Cherie, Evangeline, Robin, Kathleen, Ashley, David, Nikki, Annalise, Scott, Cam, Philip, Arthur, and Heidi.
Welcome. I'm glad you all chose to join us. It's so wonderful to have you come. So wonderful to share an hour with you. If you can think of someone that should be here with us to learn more about the PFDE and the testing, learn more about advanced design techniques, share this out, tag them, ping them, whatever it is you do in this digital world to get the message out there. I'd really appreciate it. We'd love to have a large crowd to go through with this, and I love to share all that I know, those little tiny bits about the PFDE and how to prepare for the testing. Now, one thing that's vitally important is to refer back to your basic and in your advanced studies and think about the techniques, because the material that we cover in basic in the third segment, the third week, that more into the contemporary with the techniques, many times that's what is utilized while you're designing. And then in the advanced course, when we go through the different techniques and the different tools and such, again, that will definitely benefit you in preparation for the PFDE. Because what they're looking at is how you implement advanced techniques in your designs. So it's much like the advanced final design test where you submit your last arrangement. We ask you to share with us 3 advanced techniques that you have shown. And then in the advanced in person, in the classroom, when we go through the different techniques and have you work with those as you create your designs, implementing advanced technology, I guess you could call it, using the techniques that make it look a little fancier. So for example, this design does not utilize 3 advanced techniques. So it would not score well, might not pass. Now it does utilize some grouping. Okay, I have grouping here and grouping here. That's one technique. I don't see any other advanced techniques. I see a pretty round bouquet. I see some lovely flowers. I see a good color harmony, but I don't see advanced techniques. So this is not something that would be good for PFDE testing. It might be pretty, it might sell, your customer might love it, your mother might love it, but the evaluators, they're not going to love it. What they're going to be looking for are your techniques. So maybe some basing techniques, terracing, bringing items in, stair-stepped, guiding the eye across on a horizontal line. They're going to look, did you choose materials that were in good condition? So like this one's damaged, not going to use it, throwing it away. If it doesn't look good, don't use it. You have enough that you can be very particular and choosy and throw things away. Don't use it if it's not in good condition, period. That's all I can tell you, is that if you wouldn't want it for yourself, don't use it in this design, because they're going to be looking to see if you had the ability to judge good product from bad product. And if you don't have that ability, that's not truly an advanced situation. So now I have terracing, creating a horizontal line through my design. Maybe I want to do pave. Pave needs to be fairly precise. And it's going to be little tiny flowers. Well, not necessarily tiny flowers. Flat-faced flowers with tiny stems, because you don't want it to be hard to get it down in. So you cut them very short. So I have very short, flat-faced flowers, and then I place them so that they go flat against the foam. Pave is a paving. So while I do a little pave, what's going on?
Well, Nikki said it sounds like the PFDE test is like chopped with flowers.
Very much so, yeah. And it's that intense, and it's that scary, and that important. It's a kind of a career step that can be a deal breaker for some people. And if you've worked so hard and then you get chopped, oh man, not fun. So then I am just taking each of these and placing them in flat to the surface of the foam so that I'm creating a paving.
And Leanne, I have another question from Elise. She is wanting to know, so when you're choosing the designs that you're going to do, does that mean it has to be in either foam or an armature?
Excellent question. When you choose the design you're going to do you get to choose your mechanics? That depends. Sometimes you might be assigned to make a wedding bouquet. And they just say, I want a wedding bouquet. Then you could choose to do that in a foam holder, if you were given one. You could choose to do it as a hand tie. You could choose to build it upon an armature. Other times, they might tell you they want a wedding bouquet in a holder. They specify it must be in a holder. Now you could add an armature to your holder, but you must use the holder. If they say a hand-tied bouquet, then you could add an armature to that, but you can't use the holder because it wouldn't be hand-tied. So the mechanics are up to you, unless they did specifically say, I want da 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 da. So this would be pave. Now, if you did it incorrectly, and I'm going to exaggerate this, so now I have these that are above the surface of the foam. There's height variation. That would be incorrect. So you would get counted down on your professional application of that technique. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that your application of a technique is perfect. And that's where you would use your AIFD guidebook, so that you read the definition and make sure that you follow what it says. Now maybe you don't want to do pave, maybe you want to do pillowing. So pillowing, you can do something with more of a form, like a poppy pod, but it still goes flush to the foam, okay? But see how it's got kind of ups and downs to it?
Now, when you're testing, Leanne, does the person designing this are they allowed to explain what they're doing?
Good question. Can you explain so that the evaluator knows what you meant to do? No. You will do your design. It's generally in the afternoon to evening, like 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. And then you go home. You're done. They kick you out. And the next morning, the evaluators come in and start doing the evaluations. So you won't be there, and then the evaluators don't know who did what. It's a double blind. You don't know who's going to evaluate you, and they don't know who they're evaluating. So it's a very straightforward, honest approach, but you don't get to explain it. So you need to do it in such a way that there's no question. They need to know that this was pave, this was pillow, this was terrace. You don't get to explain. And you say, well, I meant it to be. Too bad, it didn't work. You could pillow carnations, get them kind of tufted in here.
Leanne, I also have another question, and they're starting to come in here. So, what happens if you don't finish? John wants to know if there's a time restriction.
There is a time restriction. More bad times, right? You have 4 hours. It's all 4 hours to make 5 perfect arrangements. Yeah. 5 perfect in 4 hours. And if you don't get done, you're disqualified. It's not like you get partial. It is gone. Okay? So now you can see how I pillowed.
Dripping.
Oh, dripping everywhere. You can see how I pillowed different things so that I could have more basing techniques. So again, go back to your basic course in that 3rd segment, Basic Floral Design 3, and think about the different techniques. If you were in the classroom, it's in your textbook. The techniques that we taught during the 3rd portion of your course. If you're in advanced floral design, we've got it there as well. So you will find it. Practice those techniques. I can't impress upon you enough how important that part is, because that's what they're looking for, is do you understand advanced techniques? Can you implement them at a professional level, and make sure that they can tell what you implemented as you were doing it. So I'm going to stop on this one now because we've kind of gone crazy on the basing techniques. But those are things that you need to be practicing at home so that you really understand well, because that's one of the things they'll be looking at. So while I get set here, Carolyn, what else is happening?
I have a great question from Bay Area Aquarius, and they're asking it, do the evaluators see the names?
No, the evaluators will not know who they are evaluating. And you, as a candidate who is testing, will not know who will evaluate your designs. Everything is done by a number. So evaluator number 72 evaluates candidate number 321, and no one knows who is who. And so there's no opportunity to play favorites, which is really good. Really, really good. Marisa.
This is actually a question that I actually had over the phone the other day, and Scott and Kim are mentioning this as well. Is it mandatory to use a flower knife?
No, but in fact, that's perfect timing. What can you take in with you and what do you use, okay? You can take a towel, one towel, okay? You can take a treat, one treat, okay? You can take a knife. And even if you don't plan to use it all the time, I would take a knife because there may be something you need it for. You may take a pruner, okay? You may want a heavy-duty pruner. You might want a bunch cutter more like that's a pruner, but you can't have both, one or the other, okay? So I picked the pruner because I wanted something that was a little stronger. You can take a shear so that you can cut ribbons and such so that you have a nice clean cut, because you all know how this isn't going to cut a ribbon. This will. So you can take a shear. You can take a wire cutter. Okay. Then you can take a needle nose plier or a jeweler's plier. That's it. This is everything that I can take in with me. Now, once you take it in, you may use nothing but the knife. That's okay. If you don't like to use a knife and you decided you wanted to take a clipper, give up the pruner because I can't have both, you can do everything with your pruner and that's it. You just use it for everything. No one cares what tool you use. They want to see the finished design being beautiful. Which tool you choose to use for that is okay, as long as it's only these tools. That's all you can bring. And I would go to the AIFD website and you can print off the list of tools that are allowed, and that way you can look and see exactly what can be used. Parker, what do you have there?
I had a good question on YouTube. Is it one evaluator for somebody being tested, or do multiple evaluators get to look at the same piece and kind of average it?
Excellent question. Every single design gets evaluated by 7 different evaluators. Then the high score and the low score are thrown out so that they pick the 5 that are in the middle, and then those 5 are averaged to give you a final score. So it keeps it again as totally fair as possible, because by throwing out the high and low, if you have a really, really hard evaluator, they're eliminated. If you have a super, super soft evaluator, they're eliminated. So then it makes it fairer for everybody, so that nobody has got an evaluation that is just wrong. Now, one of the things they're going to look at is creative flair. And putting sticks in a pot is not necessarily creative flair. But making the judgment to use this stick that's totally crooked, that shows some creative genius. Then, if I wanted to create a trellis effect, creative flair starts coming into play. Now, when you do your creative flair, you've got to think quick. So that's where you can use our Tulip Tuesday tips. There's a playlist on YouTube of Tulip Tuesdays. Maybe you need to quickly cut bind wire. And if you saw the Tulip Tuesday, you just roll it around your hand cut it in half, cut it in half, and you've got lots of pieces ready to use. Then I can start attaching these, and while I do some attaching, you guys talk and tell me what I should be thinking or answering or whatever.
Well, I have a great question from Richard. He asks, are all contestants given the same containers and materials, or is it random? And the second part is, can one choose which order to do the 5 required designs?
Great questions. So every candidate gets the exact same materials, the exact same count, exact same colors, exact same flowers, identical, even to the point when they put it on your table and in your buckets, they're all in the exact same place. There's no changes, no variations. So yes, yours are going to be the same. There is not going to be, the question is, theirs better than mine. No, theirs is the same as yours, so you don't have to worry about that. Then as far as what do you do first and what do you do second, you get to choose. You can do them in any order that you want. So I always tell people, start with what you're most comfortable with. Start with what you think you can do the best and it's the easiest and you can just fly through and get that done, because it builds your confidence. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I can do this. This isn't so bad. So do what you do best first and then move on, because nobody cares which order you do it in. Nobody cares how you do it, which tools, which whatever. They don't care what flowers you use for what thing. You get to choose. If you want to do all your roses in something for sympathy and you don't have any roses left for anything else, that's okay. You may have the prettiest sympathy in the whole wide world and then you use other flowers for other things. That's fine. Yeah. So when it comes to creative flair, speed is of the essence. Then, when the evaluator comes to look at your arrangement, they're not going to touch it. But they are going to go over and they're going to look at it from this side. And then they're going to come out on the other side of the table and look at it from this side. And then they're going to come over and look at it from over here. They're going to get down close and look closely at it. So when you're working, you want to turn it and say, does it look good this way? Does it look good this way? Am I lined up correctly? Am I crooked? You want to look at it from every single angle because you know that they're going to. And if you don't, you may miss something. And if you miss something, you might not get a good score. Marisa, what else is happening?
So Edelise says, the PFDE sounds so important. Why?
The PFDE is incredibly important, incredibly scary, incredibly hard. And the reason is that it is the only test available to all florists worldwide that you don't have to be into a previous competition to get to that level. It's, if you want to do it, you can do it. And it immediately allows you to prove what your design skills are and establishes your credibility as a creative floral artist. So it's a validation. It's kind of like in other industries passing the bar exam. If you're a lawyer, it's our bar exam. It's like getting your PhD. It's like going that extra mile to get the best and most wonderful validation of your education. Doesn't mean that only qualified creative designers are AIFD. It just means that if you got your AIFD, you passed muster. You are there. You did it, and you deserve to be recognized for that. So yes, it is important. Yes, it is valuable. It's up to each and every person as to whether or not it's important for you and whether or not you want to do it. So now I've added some creative flair to the design, but that took several minutes. That ate up some of my 4 hours of design time. So a bit of advice, once you start learning creative techniques, practice them over and over and over so that you get super fast, so that you can do it with your eyes closed and it just flows out of your fingers and you're ready to roll. It will allow you to design faster at that time when you're needing to do it. So then I've got this set. I might want to cut down some of my foam so that I don't have as high to try to conceal. I've got to think about that. They're going to be looking at the foam to make sure none of it shows. Now, they might give you midnight foam. They might give you green foam. I don't care which one they give you. I would recommend concealing all of it, because even if they give you midnight, which is allowed to be seen, an evaluator might be confused and think you meant to cover it and screwed up. So don't give them that opportunity to be confused. Go through and make sure and conceal everything. So Parker, what have you got?
Are they going to tell you if the design needs to be one-sided or seen from multiple sides, or should you just assume that they all should be?
They will not specify one-sided or multiple sides, but if you do a one-sided design, make sure it's still polished and finished on the back side or the underside, because even if it's a one-sided design, it should look fabulous on the other side too. It can have a back, but it has to be professionally finished and fabulous, or it will be wrong. So now here are my sunflowers that were not good, but I could use them as a basing, and this is the one that had the bad spot. So what I would do is make sure and place it so that the bad spot is totally concealed by the other bloom. So then I don't have to worry about it. I can just keep working. Now, this would be qualified as something for the arrangement category. There are 5 categories that you will be designing. One will be wedding. Now, it could be a bouquet. It could be something for a flower girl. It could be something for a maid of honor. It could be something for a sweetheart table. I mean, technically, if it's for a wedding, it can be. Okay? Then you'll be doing something for flowers to wear. Now, that could be wrist, necklace, hair, shoulder, boutonniere. Lots of different things, flowers to wear. Then there's an arrangement. And the arrangement could be for a hospital, for a centerpiece, for an anniversary, for an office. So this would be an arrangement of some sort. Then there's sympathy. And that can be casket, could be easel, it could be wreath, it could be an arrangement, but there's something for sympathy work. And then lastly is designer's choice. And that's anything that you want to create to show your design skills and your creative flair. So you've got 4 hours to make 5 arrangements, and it's go.
I have a question. Well, actually, Joe has a question. They want to know if you are evaluating that, would you want the person to snip off the bind wire ties that you did up at the top there?
You know, that is an excellent, excellent question, because either they all have to be left long, or they all have to be cut short, and then different evaluators are going to have different opinions on that. To be perfectly honest, if I was doing this one for the evaluation, I would snip them. I think that would be better to go through and snip them, but I would leave that until very last in my designing, so that if I was running out of time, that would be the thing I would skip, even though I would like to have it done, but I wouldn't sacrifice getting all the arrangements done for taking the time to snip it. So I would leave that till last and then go back and snip so that I made sure that no matter what, I had finished the arrangement. Because you can't not finish. That is the biggest thing. So now I have clustered right at the base. I have clustered, pulling the eye front to back, so that even though it's going to be a one-sided arrangement, I'm finishing on the back side. Okay. Other questions?
I have a question from Richard on YouTube. He wants to know if you can do spray tinting at all.
No, because there's no place to do any spray tinting. You're inside of a hotel ballroom. They're not going to allow any spraying of anything, so there'll be no aerosols of any kind. It's not that they just say, oh, you can't tint. It's that there are no aerosols, and they're not going to provide that for you. So it's a no. Marisa.
Okay, so these are kind of two questions in one. So we want to know if the test can be taken again if we fail. And then also, is this a one-time test that you have to retake for certification, or is it just like a one-time test?
You can retake the test if you fail, but you just are starting over. There's no bonus points for a second time around. You know, it's like, okay, back at it, study hard because you are doing it again. So yes, you can take it over. You can take it as many times as you want. I did have one friend who is incredibly talented but doesn't test well, that actually took it 7 times, I think, before they passed. So yeah, you can keep taking it. That's not fun, but you can. Then what was the rest of that question? There was something else that went with that, and I can't remember now. You can retake it.
Is it like a permanent certification, or do you need to?
That's what the question was. It is a permanent certification. You don't have to retake the test, but you do have to submit what they call CEUs, which basically prove that you're continuing to learn and that you're continuing to learn and share. So you're learning and sharing your skills. And so you do have to re-up every 3 years with that, but you do not have to retake the test. Now, if you don't pay your dues and you let your membership lapse, then you do have to retake the test and start over. So you don't want to have that happen. That would not be a good thing. So now I have basing, but notice my hole right here. That's a pretty major hole. I would be major demerits. I've got to put something in there because you don't want that. Then, where is my unity from the bottom of the arrangement to the top of the arrangement? There is none. There's no unity. And the rhythm is lacking because down here is pretty, but it's just a mass of flowers. Up here is pretty, but it's just a bunch of sticks. How does that go together? So just because you got pieces that are cool doesn't mean that that's going to work. So you've always got to think through. And what you want to think about is how they are going to score you. And you would go to the AIFD site and print off the score form, which I did here, the sample. Print off the score form, and then you look at it. And I'll put my glasses on, and they're going to score you on creativity. Okay, that's sort of creative. Okay, I can maybe do that. Scale, nice height, but there's not really enough scale to pull the eye up. So it's like, okay, scale might be lacking. Unity, lacking big time. Balance, lacking big time. Focal emphasis, well, I can say this is my focal. Line, I've got some line going. Depth, I pulled your eye front to back. Some color, that's working. The mechanics, I'm good so far. The category interpretation, it is an arrangement, so I got that. So what I need to do is look at my score sheet and say, well, shoot, I've got to enhance my unity. And so I might take some ranunculus and let them come up, finding a perfect little hole here.
And I have another question for you. I actually
Okay.
have a lot. Are the designs put in the cooler overnight for the evaluation the next day?
No. So that's another thing you got to think about. Is this going to live and be pretty for an evaluator to come in the next day? So if you don't have good stem insertion and getting your flowers down into the water to where things are alive on the next day, you're going to be very sorry, because they're going to say, well, gee, your stuff died. Obviously, you don't know how to take care of your flowers, and you're going to get counted down. So no, there is no refrigeration. So you've got to make sure that everything is in water, everything's going to live. And that's something that, as a teacher, I have to struggle with, because I don't really worry about it when I'm teaching. I'm like, oh yeah, just whatever, you know, you put it in there. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, if I really did that, that's gonna die. And a customer's not going to be happy. And so I did it wrong. So you do want to think about that, making sure that the ranunculus are in, because if they come in to evaluate and all of these are drooping and dead, my scoring's not gonna be very good. But now my unity's better. Notice how that has enhanced. Okay, other question.
Are you provided a water source, or do you have to provide your own by taking your buckets into the bathroom?
You are not allowed to leave your table. So you will be given some buckets of water, and you use what you got. You cannot go get more water. If you use up all your water and there is no more water, too bad. Ha, so sorry, Charlie. Or as my mom would say, tough, tough Cocoa Puffs. You guys can all just keep repeating that, because that's really the way you have to think, that no one is going to take care of you. You have to be prepared, and you can. It's not that hard. Yeah, it is that hard. It's really hard, but you can do it. Other thoughts, questions?
Yeah, are you scored at all on / do you need to factor in cleaning your workstation and like the floor around you and everything?
You are scored by how you leave your table. So at the end, you shove everything onto the floor, and then you put a tablecloth on that's pristine, totally perfect. Set your arrangement out, pristine, totally perfect. Put the little sign by it, make sure your number is there. And then they call time, and you can never touch it again. But it has to be perfectly fabulous and clean. Then after they call the time, then you can clean your floor and all that. Because yeah, you got to clean up after yourself, but you don't have to do that during the 4-hour time. That can be done after. So yes, you are scored on that. Marisa.
So what if you lay out all your arrangements on the table and you mislabel? So what if you put corsage in front of the arrangement? Could you fix that, or would it be?
You can't fix it. You will be scored as though your corsage was an arrangement, which means you will fail that. So you don't want to do that. And especially if language is not English, and so you just screwed up because you forgot what the word was, that's just too bad. And you cannot fix it. And that has been one of the things that breaks my heart more than anything as I have worked on the testing, is when I have someone that just made an honest mistake and they know it and I know it and it can't be fixed, and you just have to stand and cry with them, because that's all you can do. There's nothing else you can do. Yeah.
So it sounds like we had someone that did test and wants to know if you can talk through them about the processing the flowers. They spent too much time processing flowers, and it sounded like they may have run out of time.
When you get your flowers, they are just grower bunches in a bucket. And if you take the time to really clean them and sort them, you're not going to have enough time to design. So you have to just look at it and start designing. You might loosen them up, you might give it a fresh cut, but you really don't have very much time to take care of them. So that's a good question. Yeah, you need to process it enough to keep it alive and to design with, But you don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about that because there's no score for best processing ever. And that will just shorten the time that you have for designing. So not good, okay?
Janet had a good tip. She mentions to keep in mind they judge on the clarity of water in a clear vase. So you'll want to fill your vase first, then soak your foam.
Excellent tip, because yes, if the water is dirty in your vase, you will get counted down for that. Excellent tip, yeah.
Richard had a good question on YouTube. Is there anywhere to look at designs that have been judged in the past or previous arrangements and such like that?
If you are a member of the PFDE Candidates for Symposium, it's a Facebook online group, many of candidates in the past have posted their work there, so you could see that. There is not really a good collection of candidate work anyplace else. That's where I have seen the most of it. So it's PFDE Candidates for Symposium, and it's a Facebook group, so you could check there. So now you can see I have brought my color up so I have greater unity. I have enhanced the rhythm, and I have messed things up a bit in that now it's busier. It's busier, busier, busier. And look at that. See, my stem didn't even go in. Now, if I was nervous and frustrated and scared, I might not have seen that. And the evaluator is going to come in and see that. I'm going to be counted down. So whenever you are finished, before you step away and before they call time, look closely at your things and make sure that everything is where you wanted it to be and that you have not inadvertently let it come outside of the container where all of a sudden it's not going to score. Okay? Marisa.
So just making sure, because we're running out of time, and because I know we have a Designing for Competition class, and I had someone asking in that class, do we practice for speed?
Yes, you do. But not through the whole thing. We do address speed. We do a mock test. We really want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. We set up a table just like you're going to walk into so you see what that feels like so that you understand the process there. So we do address speed. It is not the main focus of the class. The main focus of the class is to give you the skills so that then when you go home, so the class is May 21 to 23, and the testing this year is in October. So you'll have June, July, August, September to practice your speed. So May you join us, you learn the techniques, you learn how to take the test, and then you go home and you practice for speed, and your teachers will work with you. We continue, because you'll have a homework assignment to work with that is a schedule of things that you practice, and you will practice that and send it to your teacher to get input on. So once you take the course, we continue to work with you up until that testing time to make sure that you are as ready as you possibly can be. And so it's that window of time that you focus on speed. So, okay, I'm going to set this aside. It's not done, but I want to move on to one more thing because I want to make sure and show this part as well. Sometimes you'll get an arrangement and you know you have to do something linear for whatever reason, and you want to do something linear, and you'll have a number of things to work with. You might have snake grass, which is linear, okay? You might have myrtle, which is linear. You might have bells of Ireland, which is linear. Larkspur, okay? And you know you want to do a horizontal line, how do you choose which to use? And you sit there and go, gosh, I don't know, I'm not sure which I want to use. That's where you need to know the characteristics of your flowers. Going back to, what if it dies overnight? Bells of Ireland would be a beautiful horizontal line. That would be so pretty. But when the evaluator comes in the next day, that line is no longer going to be horizontal. It's going to look like that. So the arrangement's going to change. And if you were trying to do something that looked like this, or even like that, and they come in the next day and it's like that, you might not be happy. So thinking about your flowers, maybe the Bells of Ireland isn't your best horizontal item. Using it vertically, then it's going to contort, but it's going to stay going up. That's okay. Larkspur is not geotropic. So leaving it horizontal, it will stay there. It's not going to move. Now, sometimes it shatters. If I can get this to shatter. So you want to make sure you have nice larkspur that isn't shattering, because if you come in to evaluate and you have all this stuff on your table, that's going to count you down. So then when you're thinking, you might go, gosh, I might be wiser to do the myrtle because that's a safer choice. It's going to stay straight and it's not going to shatter onto my tabletop. But then you've got to think about pruning, because this horizontal is so wide. So you might want to think about pruning it so that it's straighter, thinner, and then enhancing it so that it comes fuller as it comes in, but it's not real full at the tip. So that's where the more that you can touch product, the better it's going to be. Because the more you touch product, the more you're going to know the characteristics and how it can work. So that's where hands-on is so vitally important. Now, when we do the class on May 21, 23, that's going to have all hands-on with all different types of products so that you can experiment and you can see how does that work. When you take the advanced floral design course, a lot of that covers the things that you need to know for the PFDE. So if you haven't taken advanced yet, do that, because that will give you the skills that are absolutely necessary. And it's a great refresher. If you're already an advanced designer and you already know all this stuff, it's going to give you just that step forward in truly understanding how to design well. Now, if I'm doing a horizontal line, I'm going to place this in. But notice how, as I place it, it's not organized out here. And that's where you're going to want to take whatever tool they give you, and they might give you some bouillon wire. Keyword being might. And think about how to include that as a decorative element quickly. So if I were to wrap that one piece at a time, that's not quick. But if I make multiple strands all together and then come out and wrap around, that's quick. That I can do for a creative technique, adding flair to my design in a very fast opportunity. Then, thinking back to your advanced course with the Fibonacci sequence, okay? So you've got that there. Then rather than just going for random equal spacing, think about your Fibonacci, think about your measurement, because it will affect scale as they're evaluating, and think, okay, if I did that there, where do I do it? Do I come out to the end? Do I come clear back here? Where do I place it to keep with the Fibonacci sequencing? So all these things that you've already learned in flower school is what you need to help you perfect your testing for PFDE. There's really no surprises. The surprise is learning to focus and learning to really work to their testing evaluation and learning to make a judgment call. If the flowers are not the way you want them, if they're kind of broken, throw it away. If you don't like to use snake grass, don't use it. Learning to curate your materials, your containers, and then learning to manage your time, that's where it all comes in. So if you're thinking about doing this, I wish you huge success. And the biggest advice I can give you is to continually touch flowers and make arrangements. And every time you make an arrangement, evaluate it yourself using their score sheet. If you cannot find line, they're not going to be able to either. So you've got to keep working on that. And join us for Flower School. The advanced course is a huge step up. The Designing for Competition really takes you to the next level. If you don't want to do the PFDE testing, don't. You don't have to. It's not required. But if you really do want to reach the pinnacle in our industry, the highest level of testing and certification, that's where you want to go. And here at Floral Design Institute, everything we teach helps narrow the focus in that direction, and everything we teach helps you take one step closer to that goal. If you go there, grand. We're here to help. If not, grand. We're still here to have fun. So next week, we'll step away from the PFDE and we'll start talking about weddings again. Because now that Mother's Day is over, summer is on the way, we're moving closer to what we could call post-COVID. I know we're not there yet, but we're moving forward. And the wedding season of 2021 is going to be amazing. Teacher Michelle will be on camera with you, sharing post-COVID weddings, and I know it is going to be fabulous. So for now, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Caledonia. Thank you to the team in the office, Marisa, Carolyn, Parker. Couldn't do it without them here. And thank you to you. Again, if someone needs to learn more about the PFDE, please share this out with them, tag them, help spread the word. And I'll see you all next week, but thanks for being here this week. Get out there and go do something you love.